Hello, and welcome back to Kim's Cozy Corner. I'm Kim, and today we're going to talk about seed potatoes. Come with me and let's get started. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Kim, and today we are going to focus on all things potatoes because it's almost time for us to start our potatoes for the outdoor garden. So I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking through potatoes. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about are the two types of potatoes. There are two types of potatoes. There are determinate potatoes and indeterminate potatoes. Determinate potatoes put all of the potatoes at one level. Indeterminate potatoes put potatoes all along the stem. So all along the stem, potatoes will grow at multiple layers. Potatoes have very different growing rates. So there's the early potatoes, there's the mid potatoes, and there are late potatoes. Early potatoes can be as early as 55 days and could be up to about 70 to 90 days. Just depends on who you're talking to. Your mid potatoes are anywhere in that 90-day range to roughly 110 days till they mature. And your late potatoes are usually 100 days and up. It just depends on what type of potato you're growing. And there are many different types of potatoes. I'm growing 8 types of potatoes this year, and I will share more details on the 8 types that I'm growing. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about the difference between early, mid, and late potatoes. Some common early potatoes include the dark red Norland, which is a red potato, Superior, which you can find in your local grocery store pretty much anywhere. Those are 2 early potatoes. And then the very famous Yukon Gold. Those are 3 very common early potatoes. Mid potatoes come in all different shapes and sizes. There are russet potatoes that are mid-season potatoes. There are purple potatoes, there are blue potatoes, there are red potatoes, there are white potatoes. They come in many different shapes, colors, and sizes. There's no way I can tell you about all of them, so I'll just share a few that I'm growing in just a moment. And then your late potatoes are typically your huge russet potatoes, German Butterball, which is another very common name brand, and the red Potomac, which is also a red potato, but they can get to big, softball sizes if you space them out and you give them plenty of room to grow. So you have early, you have mid, and you have late potatoes. You have indeterminate and you have determinate potatoes. So now that you roughly understand the difference in the way that a potato grows, as well as how long it takes for a potato to mature, let's talk a little bit about the potatoes that I will be growing this year. I purchased my potatoes from 2 companies. The first company that I purchased my potatoes from is a company called the Maine Potato Lady. So like the state of Maine, the Maine Potato Lady focuses on potatoes. There are other items that they sell as well, but potatoes is what they're known for. The one thing about the Maine Potato Lady company, their potatoes, these are 5-pound bags of potatoes that I purchased. They just came, so I'm very excited. But there's not any pictures or anything like that on the bag. There are air holes in here. I also purchased 2 types of potatoes from the Wood Prairie Family Farm. So a lot of people use this company online, so I thought I'll give it a try. And again, this company is out of Maine as well, just like the Maine Potato Lady. So I guess Maine is popular for potatoes. Don't know, but that seems to be where I'm getting all of my potatoes lately. The Wood Prairie Family Farm packaging is really nice. I mean, it's a really nice container. In addition to the packaging, they actually sent me a book with potato recipes. So if you're looking for something to do, there are recipes that came with the packaging, as well as the certificate of certification. And it talks about the type of potato, the size, who it was inspected by, what crop it came from. So, hey, this is pretty authentic. They also provided a book with everything that they have to offer, and which is amazing about this company. And the information that they're sharing is amazing. But in their book, they talk about early, mid, and late potatoes. They have pictures of each. They actually have a chart to the side here. And in that chart, it talks about the size of the plants, the skin color, the flesh, so the inside of the potato, the shape of the potato, the quality of eating, how the tubers set, as well as, the color of the flowers and how easy it is to grow, as well as is it resistant, for example, for blight or scab. It just tons and tons of information. That's the key piece here. There is so much information here. I don't know if this is going to focus or not, but there are pages and pages of information about the different varieties of potatoes. If we first think about my early potatoes, I'm growing Yukon Gold. Yukon Gold is a fantastic potato. It actually have kind of a buttery taste to it in my mind. At least I think it does. It's great for salads. It's great for roasting. It's great for mashing. It's great for everything. And best of all, it's an early potato. So the harvest comes in super early on your Yukon Gold. Here's a picture of Yukon Gold if you've never seen it. And I guarantee you that your local nurseries and your big box stores will all have Yukon Gold. It is a very popular type of potato for the home gardener. My Yukon Gold are early potatoes. They have a golden skin and they're golden on the inside. They're round. They're good for excellent eating as well as long-term storage. Yukon Gold potatoes are good for pretty much everything, for baking, broiling, mashing, frying. It's just good for everything. That's the only true early potato that I'm growing. I'm also growing a what I call a early to mid season potato, and that's Prairie Blush. There's actually a picture right here. Prairie Blush, it says that it's a beautiful blush discovery with rich old-fashioned potato flavor. It's exceptional roasted, fried, or boiled. But if we get into some of the specifics, it's golden blushed on the outside. It has a golden flesh, is slightly oblong, exceptional eating, and long-term storage. So another one of those great, what I call all-around potatoes. The other mid-season potato that I'll be growing is the Purple Viking. Here's a picture of the Purple Viking. The Purple Viking has it's kind of a purple skin, and it has some pink stripes and splotches all over it. But the flesh is white, a really bright white flesh. And it's good for baking. It's good for mashing. They can get very, very large, so you kind of have to control how close you put those together, and they'll be in pots, so I should be able to control the size of the potatoes. And I don't have any information on how well it stored well for me last year. It had a fantastic taste last year. So this will be the second year that I'm growing the Purple Viking, and I'm hoping for a larger harvest. Last year I only bought 1 pound of the Purple Viking, and this year I got 5 pounds so that I can have a larger harvest of the Purple Viking. That's it for my early and mid-season. The late season potatoes that I'll be planting, and that's the vast majority of those, Sapomira. This particular potato I have been trying to source now for at least 3 years. It's a potato that they use over in Europe, but I couldn't find it here. And then I found out this year that Wood Prairie Family Farms had it for the first time, and it's new. So Sapomira is a rare golden potato with beautiful pink skin, excellent baked, mashed, or fried. And these potatoes, based on what I've seen, how this grown over in Europe, they can get massive. Let me give you some specific information for the Sapomira. It is red on the outside, a pinkish red actually, on the outside with a golden inside. It's exceptional eating. It stores for a long time as well. It's great for one of those big oblong potatoes. And I've been trying to get my hands on this for a very long time. And so I look forward into growing this potato as well. The next one that I'll be growing is the German butterball. The German butterball is oblong. It has a golden skin and the flesh is yellow on the inside. And it's honestly just like the Yukon Gold. It's good for everything. You can fry it, you can bake it, you can mash it, you can use it in soups. It has a buttery taste to it when you cook it. It's a really good potato. It also has excellent storage. This will be the first year that I'm growing the German butterball, so we will see how it does. I will also be growing the red Pontiac. It's also a late potato. There are many different types of red potatoes, but the red Pontiac is a good storage red potato, and they can get really, really large. I mean, really large, and they get bulky fast. So you can pick them early as like new potatoes, or you can let them sit and mature because these are late potatoes. And if you let them mature, they get really, really large. They're good for mashing, they're good for roasting, your typical red potatoes. I'm also doing the Rocky Mountain Russet. The Rocky Mountain Russet is just what it says it is. It's a russet potato. Russets are good for baking. The Rocky Mountain Russet was actually developed by Colorado State University, and it has excellent disease resistance. So that's why I'm trying that this year. Typically, my russet potatoes don't do very well. They don't get very large in my garden. So we're going to try a few experiments this year to see if we can get larger potatoes. For the russet potatoes, of course, they're oblong. They're good for baking. They're good for French fries. We'll see how this one does. And the last one is my lei. I grew them last year and it gave me some of my largest white potatoes. And lei was developed by Cornell University, and they did extensive testing on the lei in Pennsylvania as they were developing this particular potato. It's oblong as well. It has a yellow flesh on the inside. I grew it last year, and honestly, it was the most consistent potato that I had of everything that I grew last year. And the taste was really good as well. I used it in soups. I used it mashing, I chipped it up and fried it. So it's a good all around potato. The taste still does not compare to a German butterball, and it does not compare to a Yukon Go, but it was a winner in my garden last year. So those are the 8 varieties that I'm growing. I try to give you a little more details on each. If you're thinking about planting potatoes in your garden, it's time to start getting those potatoes in and start chitting those potatoes. Now that I've talked about the different types of potatoes that I'm going to be growing, I want to talk to you about how I'm going to prepare my potatoes so that once I put them in the ground, they're going to take off quickly. A lot of times the potatoes, when they come, they look like just regular potatoes. There's nothing special about them. There are no eyes on them either. Sometimes you'll find some with eyes on them and sometimes you won't. But the key piece is that these are certified seed potatoes, which means there should be no disease or anything of that nature. This particular one is one of the Sapomiras. And you'll notice here, there's some very tiny eyes on this potato. Now, all of the potatoes look the same. I don't want to get these mixed up, but this is my Prairie Blush, and this is my Sapomira. The reason why they look the same is because there is this light dusting on them to help protect them and preserve them to make them last longer. So if I was to wash these completely off, this one would be white with some pink eye, like pink spots on it, and the sapomero would be a pinkish reddish color skin, but they look the same because of this coating on them. But there's some teeny little eyes on here. I want my potatoes, once I put them in the ground and the weather is perfect for them outside, I want them to take off quickly. So I want to chit these potatoes. So I want them to grow more eyes. So if you've never heard the word chitting, basically it means that I'm going to grow more eyes on this potato. So what I'm going to do is place my potatoes in a single layer in one of my trays here so that they can start chitting, so they can start growing eyes. And once they have larger eyes on them, I will cut them and let the place where I cut them scab over, and then we will actually plant them. But that will be a second video. Right now, all we're going to do is get them set up, ready to go, so that they can start chitting and growing more eyes so they'll be successful in my garden. So I have all of my potatoes laid out into a single row. Let me get my name tag up. Laid out into single rows. Some of these are actually touching, so they are a little close, but these were all the containers I had. They're laid out so that they can get airflow around them so we can start getting these eyes to form. I'm going to use the M.I. Gardener method to help chit my potatoes. And M.I. Gardener talked about getting a damp cloth. And once you have your potatoes laid out, just put a damp cloth over them. They don't need sunlight. They don't need sunlight whatsoever. They can grow the eyes in the dark. They don't need sunlight for that, but they need a moist environment. So I'm hoping these damp cloths will provide that damp, moist environment from a humidity standpoint to help these out. Now, these are slightly damp. They're not really, really wet. So I just got some towels. I'm going to lay over each one of these containers, and I'm going to move these containers into their storage space so they can begin chitting. I will be storing my potatoes in this space here. This is up under the steps leading down into my basement. This space I use for storing a little bit of everything. But for today, for now, to free up all of my seed starting space, I will be storing the potatoes in this space. Let me get them moved in. I know this space will grow potatoes because these were the little potatoes I couldn't do anything with last year. And look at all of the eyes on these potatoes. So we know this space will grow eyes. All right, so under the steps here, I have all of my potatoes under these pink damp towels, getting ready to start that chitting process. If you haven't started growing potatoes, it's not too late. Certified seed potatoes will ensure that there are no disease. I'm not saying your potato won't get disease in your own garden, but they should be free of any type of disease. If you use store-bought potatoes, which you can if you want to get organic store-bought potatoes, you should be fine. And if they grow eyes, you should plant them and they should be fine. Just cannot guarantee that it doesn't have some type of disease. If you're getting regular store-bought potatoes, sometimes they have sprays on them to keep them from sprouting because they want the potatoes to last as long as possible on the store shelves. So that's one thing you have to watch out for if you're going to use store-bought potatoes. If you're using organic store-bought potatoes, you should be okay. They should sprout, they should get eyes on them, and they should grow for you. Once you grow your own potatoes, you never have to buy them again. I have another video where I start some of my indoor pots of potatoes, which are behind me here, with leftover potatoes from last year's harvest. And they are already growing really well in my indoor pots, and they're already starting to bloom. Once your potatoes bloom, that means that there are potatoes growing below the soil. Once you have your seed potato, and you've grown potatoes from that seed potato, you can take that next year's harvest, save a few of those potatoes, and use them to start your potatoes for the next year. That's it for potatoes. This isn't everything about potatoes, but hopefully this is enough to get you started if you are interested in growing your own potatoes in grow bags or in raised beds or in the ground. This will get you started. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I have other gardening videos right here for you to check out if you wish. Thank you. Have a great, blessed day. Bye-bye.